To start things off, I started by cutting 2-inch wide strips of 1/2-inch plywood for the framing below the floor. Now that I've cut all of the 2-inch strips making up the framing for the subfloor of the van, I can now start installing it using epoxy and putting it on the tops of these ridges. So I did cut a 1-inch strip, and this piece will go right on the edge. And that's just because when you're loading heavier stuff here in the back, you're gonna end up loading the edge of that board, your flooring, right on the edge, and you don't want to crack that off. So I'm going to put this strip right on the edge of where these ribs stop. That way we'll have some support. Plus I'm going to put a recessed L-track right in here, so it'll give me something to rest the edge of that L-track on. Next, I'll secure the strips to the floor using a marine grade adhesive sealant. This will allow for expansion and contraction and a little bit of movement inside the van without breaking the bond. Also curb some squeaks between the flooring strips and the metal of the bottom of the van. Moving on, I used a duct liner insulation, which is a neoprene insulation. This also acts as a sound deadener to the bottom of the van. It has an adhesive back and a foil radiant barrier on it as well. So I cut this and then laid it in between the strips for a little bit of insulation and sound deadening. I then used the same marine grade adhesive sealant on top of the framing strips to secure the subfloor to those framing strips. That does the same thing, curbing any squeaks that might happen and also letting a little bit of flex happen as the van moves around. I used the stock Mercedes flooring for the subfloor in my van, but if you do not have your stock flooring for the van or you want to try a different option, I'll put a link in the description below. Veritas Vans makes an awesome CNC cut flooring kit that's available for Sprinters, ProMasters, and Ford Transits. One thing that makes those flooring kits a little bit easier is also they come in more than 2 sections. So putting this stock Mercedes flooring in, it was a little bit cumbersome and kind of heavy, a little bit awkward, so it would help to have 2 people in here, but I'm used to working on my own. So I just made it work and shuffled this thing into place. Once I was finished, I put some bricks on top, and that kind of helped set the edges in where it was kind of curved up from the edges. So that's just one little trick that will help you out, flattening it all out. Next is your prep before laying down your final floor. I used wood pucks I got off of Etsy. I had to sand these down to get them to fit perfect, but in the end they worked out awesome. Then I used some wood putty, which fills in any of the imperfections or small holes that may exist through your flooring. Follow that up with a quick sand and you're ready to go. Here we are, final flooring day, and I have my floor laid out. That way all the wrinkles come out, all the little imperfections. I've rented a 100-pound roller for after the glue is set down and the floor's in place, and that'll get all these extra wrinkles out, and it'll be nice and flat. Once you've cleaned up all the dust and debris off of the subfloor and the bottom of the vinyl flooring, then you can lift the flooring into place with the help of a buddy. In my case, I used my wife, and she came over, helped me lift this stuff into place. It'd be kind of awkward by yourself, but you could do it. I laid the floor out approximately where it was going to go, got it into place, and then made some small cuts to relieve around the wheel wells. Once I was finished with the rough fit, I then folded it back over just past the halfway mark so I could start putting down glue. The flooring epoxy called for a 1/16 inch trowel. That means the notches in the trowel are 1/16 of an inch. So I got that from the basement and we got started. Once I finished applying the glue, I got my helper back and we slowly rolled the flooring over while making contact with the floor and making sure there was no air bubbles underneath. Once you've finished one side, flip the opposite side over and repeat the process. The next step in this process is to use a 100-pound roller to flatten out any imperfections and excess glue underneath the material. I was going to improvise during this step, but I am glad I didn't. This 100-pound roller definitely was the ticket and made it look perfect. Finally, we get to finish by trimming all the excess material from around the wheel wells and up against the walls. You're going to want to do this to leave a little space for expansion and contraction, as this stuff does expand quite a bit when it's heated. I did this when it's cool, so I left about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch along the sides. If you found this video helpful and want to see videos like how I custom built my own trim rings and upholstery, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.